So Utah has ranked yet again as the #1 state in the nation for so many reasons, but from my personal experience after helping countless people make the move here to Utah over the years, I've learned that paradise comes with fine print. There are certain things that people feel and think about the great state of Utah, and they drop those comments in my YouTube videos constantly, and I want to address those here in this video. I'm going to cover all of the myths around making the move to Utah. What are the big pros and cons that people think about, but also what's the truth underlying these statements that we so frequently see and hear about? So give me about 30 minutes of your time and I will give you all of the details with respect to all of the major concerns, the big pros or cons about making the move here, and the surprises as well as the rookie mistakes that people make when they make the move here that could end up costing you $50,000 or more when you make that move. And my promise to you is that by the end of the video, you'll feel more confident about what the truth is underlying these myths and these statements that we so frequently see and hear about. Okay, so what I'm going to share is not opinion, it's facts, and it's based on the data about all of these different things that we're going to cover. And I want to make sure that I highlight that even though Utah has been ranked #1 for the last 18 years, in other words, if we take a snapshot in time over 18 years of the economic outlook for the state of Utah, it ranks #1 in the country. And I've heard and seen all of the things that people bring up when they're truly making that move. So I actually know the specific questions that you're thinking about, and I'm going to address them right here in this video. Okay, myth #1, Utah's affordable. We all talk about affordability, and as we know, for the last handful of years, all across the country, affordability has been a major concern as prices for goods and services and of course housing have skyrocketed. It's no different here in the state of Utah, but overall, the cost of living in Utah is actually very attractive other than housing. That is the one caveat that really enters the conversation that we need to talk about the most. So sure, even though the utilities and the food and all of the other expenses in day-to-day life here in Utah bode very well comparatively to other states, housing is a major concern. Many locals feel like we've been priced out of our own market here in Utah, and I completely empathize with that sentiment because it's true. We've seen real estate prices here shoot well over $550,000 for a single family home, with the nationwide average just over $350,000. And this really strains people's budgets. This means oftentimes that both people in a family have to work full-time and they're stretching it just to make do. And unless you have a really good job or a really successful business, it's becoming increasingly difficult. In fact, many of the people that I talk to that live in some of these areas that are quite expensive, they mention to me constantly that they would never be able to afford that same home today had they not purchased it 5 years ago or longer. So what's the affordability crisis outlook here in the state of Utah and across the nation? Well, Utah's no different, but we do have measures being implemented here in the state of Utah that are making an impact to help the rising price of housing and real estate and hopefully keep it at bay for quite a few years so that we can get some room to breathe. And so Utah is no longer the value-based living that we had in years and decades prior. It is a deep value, especially when you factor in your work-life balance and of course the lifestyle here, but it does come with strings attached. Okay, myth #2, let's talk about air quality. My least favorite thing about living in Utah is that wintertime air quality. And as I've mentioned in countless videos before this, we talk about the inversion quite regularly. Typically, in an average year, we'll have 2, maybe 2.5 or 3 weeks worth of inversion air quality during the wintertime, where that warm air gets trapped up above the colder air next to the ground, and it traps the pollutants down with it. So even though we have these amazingly beautiful Wasatch Mountains, they also act as a barrier so that things can't escape. And there are nuances with where you choose to live here, whether it be on the valley floor, or if you live up on one of the benches, or if you live in a higher altitude just above that. Maybe it's in Suncrest, or maybe it's in a town along the Wasatch Back, or even Park City. These choices truly matter as to how you experience wintertime here. And the truth is, the vast majority of Utahns live along the Wasatch Front, and they do have to deal with these inversions. So how do we handle that? So here's my advice. If you really dislike the air quality during the winter months, which let's be honest, everybody does, it's a great opportunity to either number one, stay indoors, or number two, plan a simple getaway or two during that period of time so that you can get yourself a break, or use that opportunity to get up in the mountains and hit the slopes, go skiing, snowboarding, go explore Park City or any of the mountain towns, and you'll be in crystal clear, beautiful blue skies and clean air. So these are the workarounds that we as locals deal with. And for me personally, I think the best thing is to have that little vacation to look forward to each and every February where you know you're going to catch a little bit of a break. And air quality is not just an issue during the wintertime. Sometimes when there are California wildfires or wildfires burning in the Northwest or even Canada, sometimes that smoke can get trapped here along the Wasatch Front as well. So be mindful. As beautiful as the Wasatch Mountains are, they do have their upside, but also their downside. Okay, myth number 3, we're going to talk about water. Now, you might be coming from a state where water is plentiful. You may be coming from a place, for example, like Florida, where water is abundant. But out here in the West, water is a scarce resource and one that we really have to manage incredibly well to make sure that we have that resource that we so desperately need. And one of the comments that I'm constantly hearing are, we're not going to have the water for this growth. This increase in population is unsustainable because we simply don't have the water. Well, the local government entities, the municipalities, and of course other messages, whether it be through the news or otherwise, do a great job of instilling fear into us as citizens of Utah, knowing that we've got to protect this valuable resource in water. So what is the truth about water here? Well, the truth is, as a whole, the population here in Utah only uses 4% of the state's water for house use within our houses itself. We use another 5 to 6% for watering our lawns and using outdoors in general, but 90% of the water here in the state is used for agricultural purposes, for industrial purposes, and commercial areas. And with nearly 3/4 of the water being used for agricultural use, how do we get more efficient with how we use that water so that we can easily manage the growth? Well, here's one thing. For every acre of land that we develop that goes from agricultural land to a suburban neighborhood, it's actually a drastic net savings in water. I know that's not what most people want to hear, that really resist the change of development, but we do need more homes to house the demand of not only the growing population here in Utah naturally, but also those that are moving here. And while not every acre being developed is becoming a subdivision from agricultural land, it doesn't take nearly as much water as people think to really sustainably support the population here. In other words, we could realistically double the population of Utah and manage the water well enough in order to make sure that we're okay with our water supply. Now, all of this is not to say that we don't have to be concerned about water, because we do. It's a valuable resource that we've mismanaged for decades in not allowing enough water to get to the Great Salt Lake. That's a whole nother part of the conversation. It's a topic of highest concern, and big measures have taken place in the last few years to make sure that more and more water is making its way to the Great Salt Lake, which is vital to the ecosystem here in Utah and our very existence here along the Wasatch Front. And so in Utah, water is money, water is wealth, and we are running out unless we don't manage the water properly. But I have faith, and I do expect that we will do so moving forward. Okay, next up, let's talk about traffic. Some people think that we have the worst traffic in the country here. And for pretty much everybody that comes from a different city, they look at our traffic and they kind of laugh because it's nothing compared to the city where they're coming from. And while that's a fair statement, it doesn't mean we shouldn't consider the local perspective, as we've seen our traffic patterns develop and get worse and worse and worse. And with all of the new construction, with the major infrastructure projects, especially in the southwest corner of the Salt Lake Valley, as well as Utah County in and around Saratoga Springs, I truly empathize with what people are going through, because the traffic can take significantly longer right now until those projects are completed. Now, once those really well planned out projects are completed, the traffic patterns in these areas is going to be phenomenal. In fact, it's going to be far better than what is done on the east side of the valleys. And so I'm really hopeful that that actually takes place and takes hold as we continue to manage growth moving forward. And traffic isn't just reserved for the population areas, the places where most of us live. We have to think and consider traffic getting up to the ski resorts and getting to the places or the points of interest that draw so many people here in the first place, whether that's national parks or Snowbird or any of the other incredible ski resorts here. We want to make sure that we understand what it's realistically going to be like. For example, if you want to go skiing on a really great powder day up Big Cottonwood or Little Cottonwood Canyon on a Saturday, you're going to expect very heavy traffic up those canyons. And so, being creative and finding other solutions, whether it be bus systems or a gondola, there are ways that the infrastructure can be improved upon so that we can manage traffic better. And to sum it all up, growth outpaces infrastructure. This is because infrastructure needs the funding in order to happen, and that doesn't come until after the growth. We've got to have the tax base, not only in property taxes from residents, but also businesses to really support and fuel that development of the infrastructure. And what I've noticed in recent decades, the planning takes place well in advance, and everything is much better planned today than the projects that were planned 40 or 50 years ago. Okay, myth number 5, everybody skis all winter long. That's just not the case, right? Not everybody is going to hit the slopes all the time. In fact, we have to think about the cost of skiing here. Skiing has gotten incredibly expensive, and even if you buy a season pass, it gets very expensive here. Certain resorts like Deer Valley and Park City are some of the priciest resorts in the country, while other resorts are much more of a bargain. So as locals, we know which resorts are the better bargain in terms of how much it costs to ski the terrain and how much terrain you get in exchange for that cost. And to be able to get to these ski resorts efficiently, you're going to want to know where to park, when to leave, when to arrive, and how to manage those traffic patterns, especially up the Cottonwood Canyons right here next to Salt Lake City. And while skiing and snowboarding and winter sports in general are amazing in Utah, it's certainly not effortless and it's not cheap. Okay, myth number 6, we're going to talk about other costs of living like utilities. A lot of people ask me about utilities. What can I expect if I'm moving from Texas where my power bill is $450 per month? Well, our utility costs are the lowest in the nation, which is a really healthy relief, especially given our higher real estate prices. But utilities here are managed well, and they're less expensive than anywhere else that you might be coming from. And overall, the energy costs here in Utah are actually really attractive for people that are making the move here. Okay, next up, myth number 7, let's talk about culture. The homogenous culture of Utah, right? 42% of the population identifies as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and the neighborhood that you move into could be 20% or it could be 80%. It just totally depends. And depending on your values and if you're conservative or not, you might find different areas to be more attractive to you than others. And it's human nature for all of us to be drawn to people that are similar and like-minded, so we want to make sure that we understand where we're moving to and how this plays out in the state of Utah. Because just like any other American city, as you get closer to the urban core, you get different leanings than if you're out in the suburbs. And that's no different in Utah as well. Now, I will add the really unique thing about Utah is we have quite a few neighborhoods that are very well balanced, where you have a really good mix of both, and it works pretty harmoniously. In Utah, we have a lot of neighborhoods and cities that are really balanced out, and it works incredibly well. I can't believe it. Some people think it's impossible, but it actually works. And for that reason, I do think that Utah is quite unique. We're not the same as every other state. In fact, I don't think there's any other state like the state of Utah, to the point where I do believe that if we could have a presidential candidate here that were an independent and actually had a chance at running and making office, they'd probably and likely, almost guaranteed, do better in Utah than any other state in the nation. Okay, myth number 8, liquor laws. If you like alcohol, you're going to have different things you're going to have to learn about making the move to Utah. Alcohol is going to be served at a different time, in a different way, at a different location, perhaps than what you're accustomed to. You're not going to be able to walk down to a corner market at the liquor store and pick up whatever you want. You're going to have to go to a state-run liquor store for all of your things other than beer, and you're going to have to understand what it means to go out to a restaurant if you're going to be served alcohol, because a lot of the restaurants that do serve alcohol in the same way way that they likely do from where you're coming, you're going to have to be ID'd at the door before you can enter. And honestly, there's one of those within walking distance here of my office, and it's a great location. I go there frequently, and it's nothing to be concerned about. It's just something to understand. And when you first get here, you might find it quite odd because it's not like that where you came from, but it works really well here. In fact, if you're really into craft breweries or whatever it is you're into, you're going to be just fine here. It's just going to take a little bit of adaptation to get used to our quirky alcohol laws. Okay, myth number 9, jobs grow on trees in the state of Utah. Yes, Utah's job market is the strongest in the country, but that doesn't mean you're guaranteed that high-paying job when you come. There are many instances where 35 applicants for one job in a competitive market really does stick out. So it just doesn't mean that you're going to have the easiest time finding a job here. I've got multiple clients right now looking for jobs in Utah, and it's not as easy as they might think. And I want to reframe this conversation that despite the fact that we have the healthiest and strongest economic outlook and job market in the entire country, it still doesn't come incredibly easy for some people if it's a very competitive industry. And while great jobs here do exist, and there are plenty of them, and Utah's job market is growing, they don't grow on trees, and you're going to have to put forth effort to land one of those incredible jobs as well. Okay, moving on, myth number 10, we're going to talk about new construction. Sometimes people have this dream of what a new construction home is, and yes, it's something I talk about regularly right here on my YouTube channel. I'm a new construction specialist, and I think it's one of the best buys in real estate in Utah right now. But it doesn't come without challenges. You do have to understand that sometimes you might have to wait longer for that home to be completed. Sometimes you might not have exactly what you want when you want, and the building lots might be smaller. You might have smaller yards. You might have more expenses in the way of landscaping or fences or other things that you wouldn't have otherwise. And we're not even talking about construction delays. While most builders are really good here staying on track with respect to their schedules, construction delays are real. They can happen, especially in the wintertime. And the bottom line is new construction homes aren't always easier. They're just newer. So Utah has, incredible things that make Utah unique and really attractive for so many people, from crime rates to public land access to the benefits of having the greatest outdoor experience you could ever possibly have in a metropolitan area. And one of my favorite things is the fact that we have the 4 seasons that we get to really truly experience here in Utah that so many people that move here truly appreciate. And it's something to really behold, because as we live here along the Wasatch Front or the Wasatch Back or wherever you live in the state of Utah, it's like this is a living, breathing canvas. The mountains are constantly changing, from snow-capped Rocky Mountains in the wintertime to beautiful snow-capped green mountains in the early spring to really green mountains, and then they turn brown, like a golden brown color in the summertime. They're constantly evolving, and it's something that I find really interesting because nothing here in Utah stays stagnant. And so you ask yourself, if you're really considering making the move to Utah, here's the 5-step relocation playbook that I've developed to make that move as smooth as possible for you. Number 1 is to set up a virtual call with me through video. You can find that link in the pinned comment on this and every video. And in this call, I'm going to ask you all the questions I need to know to best align your situation, your family, your lifestyle, your job, and everything with the best areas in Utah for you specifically. And that leads me to step number 2, and that's just playing the game of area matching, making sure that the neighborhood and the city and the community aligns with your goals, your values, and your lifestyle. And then moving on to number 3, we're going to talk budget, we're going to talk lending, whether that be new construction or setting you up with one of my fantastic lender partners that I work with every single day to make sure that we can get the best incentives for you and seller concessions if it's an existing home to make sure that we can get the best mortgage rate possible for you. And this to me is one of the many things that separates an expert real estate professional from a novice. And it can truly deeply affect your monthly mortgage payment. So that's something that you want to take seriously. And then moving into step number 4 is the transaction itself and guiding you through all of the necessary inspections to make sure that you're getting that dream home that you truly wanted and making sure that you have a great experience throughout the entire transaction. And then step number 5 is the post-move-in support. I, as a real estate professional, take this incredibly seriously. I feel not only the necessity, but the duty to make sure that I have a network of people that I can trust behind me to support you in your move here. That can go from an insurance agent to a financial planner to an accountant to a painter to any contractor you might need help with in your home. I have consummate professionals and people that I trust behind me that I can refer and make sure that you're in touch with to make sure that this move is as smooth as possible for you. And relocating isn't just about buying a home, it's about doing it right to make sure that you have a positive experience. And so if this is the type of content that really helps you, I would love it if you would take a moment and hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me. It helps me tremendously to get in front of more people just like you. And if you'd like, I would love it if you would drop a comment and let me know what topics or what things you want me to talk about, because that's where I pull my content ideas from. And if you're looking to relocate or move to or within the state of Utah, my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. Make sure you reach out to us. You can find my contact information in the description, whether that be phone, email, or text. And if you're looking to learn more about life in Utah, check out this playlist next. And until next time, thanks.